So I come from a place in South Manchester called Wythenshawe. It's just a big council estate. And I came up grew up in the 90s, early 2000s before social media and all the, I'd say all the madness, but all the opportunity to connect with people outside of your close friends. So when I'm going outside, I can only connect with a handful of people based on, if we wanted to hang around with our friends, you have to go and seek and find them. You can't just pull up your phone and pull up an app and be like, oh, so-and-so's at this place, so-and-so's at that place. Everyone now with his social media is in each other's pockets, in each other's business. It's very easy to locate and connect and things like that. Whereas growing up in the area that I come from, it wasn't so easy to connect with your friends, so you had to go out and find them and things like that, which I'm grateful for, because I think that now, the younger generation or Gen Z or whatever you want to call them, I think they've missed out on a lot of life experience and education that comes from going out into the streets and trying to find your way and things like that.
What's up, guys? I hope you're all well. Welcome back to the Podghost Podcast. And today I'm joined by lifestyle coach and a very motivational speaker, in my opinion, Peter Griffiths. Peter, my brother, nice to have you, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Bro, first and foremost, you've come from a mission away, man. How long did it take you to get here?
It's a couple hours on a train, few little inner city journeys on the other trains. It's like a bit of a maze to get here, but we're here in one piece.
Bro, you know what? I remember coming across your profile not too long ago. And the first thing I did was message you directly. I just thought, you know what? I'd love to get you on my show. And the reason for that, bro, is I love the way you came across. I thought the energy, the positive vibes that you brought. But before we go into all of that, I want to go into your early years growing up. How was it for you? I want people to know who you really are. So take it off from here.
So I come from a place in South Manchester called Wythenshawe. It's just a big council estate. Mm-hmm. And I came up grew up in the 90s, early 2000s before social media and all the...
all the madness.
Yeah, I'd say all the madness, but all the opportunity to connect with people outside of your close friends. Do you understand what I mean? So when I'm going outside, I can only connect with a handful of people based on, if we wanted to hang around with our friends, you have to go and seek and find them. You can't just pull up your phone and pull up an app and be like, oh, so-and-so's at this place, so-and-so's at that place. Everyone now with his social media is in each other's pockets, in each other's business. It's very easy to locate and connect and things like that. Whereas growing up in the area that I come from, it wasn't so easy to connect with your friends, so you had to go out and find them and things like that, which I'm grateful for. Of course. Because I think that now, the younger generation or Gen Z or whatever you want to call them, I think they've missed out on a lot of life experience and education that comes from going out into the streets and trying to find your way and things like that. So that's basically the area that I come from. Yeah. But to say I was poor would be a bit of an overstatement, but we didn't really have much growing up. I was the eldest of three, and my mum and dad were together till I was around 11. But prior to my mum and dad splitting up, my mum got cancer and she had it in her tongue. So she had a one-off surgery where they took a piece out of her forearm and put it on her tongue. Don't ask me how they did it, but they did it anyway. She made a recovery and she had to learn to talk again and things like that. But when she came back, I think because her recovery was so long and she was still relatively young, my mum, she felt like she missed out on socializing and things like that. So she's gone out socializing, ended up meeting somebody else behind my dad's back, which caused a rupture in the family. The family ended up breaking up, and then it went from there. So obviously, as a young boy, as a mummy's boy, you go with your mum, don't you? You follow your mum, even though at the time now I can see, even though she had a reason, she was in the wrong at the time, but I still followed her. So then that resulted in us. We was getting passed around by the system from houses that were unclean, where we were catching infections from sleeping on floorboards, on mattresses and stuff in people's spare rooms and things like that. Friends had put me, my mum up, my little brother and my little sister up. So we had a bit of a rough and tumble for a few years in my earlier teens, and then I went back to my father's. But he wasn't the same man then. He's a disciplinarian anyway. But I believe if you're going to discipline your children especially if you're going to do it the old school way.
Yeah.
Let's just call it the old school way for the benefit of the tape. I think there's got to be a verbal lesson behind it. You can't just lay into your children and then not say why and not give them actionable steps afterwards. Like I'm a big believer in actionable steps, and it's not until I've been able to grow older as a man and unpack it and be like, maybe it was necessary, but with a lesson to follow it. Do you know what I mean? But there was no life lessons. Like anything that I learned, I can't say that I learned it from my parents until I got older and started to become an adult and a mature adult myself. So going out when I was younger onto the streets trying to look for those lessons, I ended up getting in loads of trouble. I was on drugs when I was I think I started smoking weed when I was 12. Started drinking when I was 13. I was nearly enough dependent on weed by the time I was when I was in my early teens, and then obviously that gets you into doing things because you've got to pay for it, haven't you? So you've got to be going doing little bits of shoplifting and whatever, nicking things here and there, going whatever the boys are doing. Of course. So I'll get a little pot of money together to get you drink and get you weed and stuff like that. We was doing that, and then when I was 15, was out on the street, and I come from on my estate. So it was you get together with your group of friends, you put your money in a pot, you all get drunk, and then you're out on the streets.
Yep.
There was no facilities, nowhere. Nobody would let 6-7 drunk kids in their house to have a party. So
Absolutely.
we were out on the streets, and then you'd end up bumping into another group, and then you obviously fighting on the streets and things like that. And one day, one thing led to another. I ended up hitting somebody, done him a bit of damage, and he ended up getting arrested and going to jail in year 11. I did my GCSE.
Wow.
I did my GCSEs in a juvenile, and yeah. But if you would have saw me when I was younger, I don't look like you. You're looking at a grown man now. When I was younger,
Yes.
I used to look like the fucking Milky Bar Kid. So it was I was in no fit state to be in a prison. Do you know what I mean? I was always the class clown. I was always trying to act up, always trying to seek validation because I never got it at home because the home was broken. Do you know what I mean? So I think for anybody watching, I'd just like to stress this message so much. If your kid is constantly getting referred to as the class clown, that's because he's seeking or she's seeking validation from others that you need to be instilling in the household. Do you know what I mean? If you don't validate your kids, they're going to go outside and look for it. And what's outside nowadays? It's not pretty. It weren't pretty when I was growing up, and it's getting worse now with all the knife crime and things like that. It's only going to escalate. So if you don't want your kid getting taken in, you've got to be self-aware about their behaviors when they're outside of home, and if they are seeking validation. Do you know what I mean? And that's all I was. I just wanted validation because I never quite got it from my parents, and then I never really quite got it from my peers because of my appearance, because I was the little scruffy Milky Bar kid who was half homeless but not, and then just trying to make a way and to make a little name for myself or whatever, and it just. Yeah, it didn't really go too well. And then as you grow older, obviously, the school of life teaches you lessons. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so up until I was in my 20s, that's all I was focused on, just going out, drinking all the time, partying, fighting, things like that of that nature. And it was as I grew older, I got better at everything. I was better at drinking. I was better at taking drugs. I got better at fighting, only slightly. Because do you know what I mean? I'll be completely honest. I lost most of the fights that I had, but I've won a lot of ones that counted. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just basically, I wouldn't even like to say that I'm a product of my environment, but my environment and the people in it have played a massive part in my childhood and my earlier years, I'd say. So that's why I always stress to be a positive male role model, because I know for a fact I was lacking that when I was growing up. And if I can develop myself and help people develop themselves into being that male role model, you will save a lot of the younger generation, a lot of the shit that I went through. And that's one goal of mine. So yeah.
No, you've done really, really well, bro. I've got to be honest. I was listening to, obviously growing up, not in a household that people would think is normal, meaning, jumping houses, living with mum and dad, and obviously mum going off, dad. It wasn't easy. Let's say it wasn't easy for you, and obviously for your mum and dad as well. And I feel like everyone is at a stage now from what they've been built in from then.
Yeah.
And that's always in you. And I can see in that when, whenever you're talking, you're always trying to be positive about your life now. I want to know, what was the time where you sat there thinking, you know what, I need to turn this around? Was there a moment where you sat there, thought, enough's enough, man, to fucking get back, or trying to give back from what I've been through?
To be honest, I've always been that person that always likes to do for other people. Like, it might be an insecurity that I've carried since being younger, like trying to always please other people, always put other people's needs before my own, always stretching myself, always like, if something's going on, I'll jump in to sort it out, whether it's somebody else's beef or whether they need something. Like, I was the type of person, like, if I had £15 in my pocket and you needed a tenner, I'm giving you that £10, and then because the feeling that giving you that would be more than anything that £10 note could buy me. So I've always found fulfillment in pleasing other people and stuff like that. But if you overstretch yourself for so long, which I did for years, while running yourself down into the ground, while drinking and doing drugs all the time, while involving yourself in violence, while you're not actually doing things that are feeding your soul, you're only going to end up coming to a dead end with it and hitting a wall. And that's what I did. I didn't understand, because there was no social media outlet, and because there was no because there was no positive male role model in my life, I didn't have anybody to tell me, like, no, you need to pull back and focus on yourself. That's one of the things that I preach the most, is you've got to focus on yourself. And for years, I thought it was selfish for me to be like pulling back. And not only that, I didn't think that I was worthy of my own love. Do you know what I mean? So I was just pouring it out and pouring it out and pouring it out to the point of where I had nothing left to give. And then when I had nothing left to give, I felt like nothing in myself. And then when I was drowning myself in drink all the time and drugs and all that, I started to, like, I wouldn't say hear voices, but it was an inner conversation with myself. And I was speaking to myself like the people used to speak to me when I was a kid trying to seek validation. Like, you're nothing. Look at you're in your mid-20s. You've not amounted to nothing. You're this, you're that. Every girlfriend that I ever had, it exploded into like a violent, toxic end. Every single one. I couldn't hold a relationship down because I was too soft.
Do you think it's down to yourself?
Because I was too soft. I poured on the validation. I poured on the gifts. I poured on the love that I didn't even know that I should have been really giving to myself to set standards and boundaries. And I never did that. And I got walked all over. And while I was getting walked all over, it just felt like something that had been familiar since being a kid. And then I got to a point where I'd lost my identity so much, you know, trying to please other people and stretching myself. And I remember looking in the mirror one day, and I've been on the back end of a bender, and I was just looking at myself one day, and I was just like, I didn't even know who that person was looking back at me. And then I started to hate him because it was unfamiliar. I actually hated the person that was in the mirror, to the point of where I was contemplating my own life, thinking, is it even worth me even carrying on? Because all I'm going to keep experiencing is I'm never going to get the love that I feel like that I can give to other people. I'm always going to be seeking validation. And then I'm always going to be leaning on these substances and that as a crutch, do you know what I mean? As trying to support myself. And I was thinking, that's not a man. You're not a man, do you know what I mean? And then this is the conversation that I'm having with myself. And then it got to a point of where I was suffering inside with so much pain, and there was nothing I could do about it. And I got to the point of where I was sick of fighting, and I was sick of taking it out on other people, and I was sick of waking up with my face smashed in, and I was sick of being worried because I've done someone damage the night before, panicking, you know what I mean? Thinking, oh, what have I done? I'm living in that state of regret and guilt. There's a frequency chart of how you can feel, and at the very bottom, guilt and shame are right at the very bottom. And I spent a lot of my younger years in those low frequencies, in guilt and shame. Do you know what I mean? And it got to the point where it just boiled over, and I was just and I was in that much pain. And I've always struggled with channeling my emotions, because I've either masked it or never spoke about it. And because I've always been the clown and always been the one to make everybody laugh and seek validation, I never really got to address my problems. I just suppressed them to the point of where I got myself to actual snapping point, and I was contemplating just basically ending the story, mate. I was contemplating ending the story, but then I'm arguing with myself, and there was just something telling me to just hang in there. But I was like, I couldn't physically take the pain that was going on inside. So I started to physically inflict it on myself. I can't remember the very first time I did it, but I drew blood. I think I stabbed myself in the arm, and I drew blood, but it was like a release. And it was like the only thing that ever gave me a release. It was like I could feel a release. Do you ever feel like, have you ever had like an adrenaline rush where it's uncontrollable and you think it's gonna kick off here, and then it gets dissolved so quickly and you're relieved and you're so happy?
Oh yeah.
It was like that feeling. That's the only thing I can relate it to, is that sense of relief. But not only that, then I started to just think that was my crutch. So I went from using the alcohol, and then when all that stuff stopped working for me, and I couldn't get any more validation, and like my best friend got locked up, so it was like my brother, and I didn't really have anybody else to look around. All the olders were just encouraging me to do the wrong things, or they were in prison themselves. I didn't have nothing but me, and I didn't even like me. I hated me, to the point of where the pain was like, when people talk about self-harming, you know, like when I used to look at people and they used to have like lacerations on their arms and like scars and things, I used to think they were crazy or they were weak, but they're not weak. For you to take a sharp object and literally cut through your own flesh to put your body through that much trauma and that much pain, you'll fight just to extinguish a pain that's going on, that's burning inside you, that's been cooking for years, that you've not addressed. That's fighting fire with fire. Do you understand what I mean?
Of course, bro.
That's fighting fire with fire, and I did it. And to be honest, it worked for like 13 months. That's why I started to get my tattoos, because it all started from that. I always loved tattoos, but I was never there to get them. And now I absolutely love them, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to come onto platforms like this and try and not normalize what I've been through, but just to shine a light on it and say, me too. Like, I've struggled. I've been to the bottom of the barrel, and I've managed to pull myself out of it. So if like anybody's watching and you're really going through something, or you know somebody who's going through something now, like, I want you to look at me as living proof that no matter how bad it gets, to the point of where you actually even contemplating ending your existence, there's always a way back. You've just got to have faith and believe in yourself. Do you know what I mean?
That's mad. Sorry, but I'm sorry to even hear you going through all of that, man. And that's why I said to you in the beginning, for people that are watching, I spoke to you and I said, I don't want to talk too much about your life, because I knew you're someone who has so much to talk about. But I felt like I didn't want to know you as a person. But I'm quite surprised that, number one, how much you've been through, but number two, how you've overcome it. So congratulations on that. The way you've come across, you're such a nice guy, even off camera, we're talking, and I never ever would have thought, again, it's the way we spoke about earlier about judging someone when you see them.
Of course.
You're always smiling. You've got lovely teeth, by the way. So I've been looking at you and I'm thinking, you're so positive, you're smiling, you're happy, you've got a bounce in your step. But then you think you've been through all of that. And that is some serious courage, bro. Like, the way you were talking, I had a lump in my throat for a minute.
I appreciate
when you're
that.
Talking about self-harming, bro. And I didn't even know that's why you started with the tats.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, to hear that on this podcast, I think it's the first to think that I've actually been so taken back by it, to think that after all of this, you're here to talk about it. And I think that's absolutely remarkable, bro. So well done to you, man.
Appreciate that.
And I love the fact, I want to speak about your social content yourself, because you're very active on social media.
Yeah.
But I always feel like deep down on every message you put out, there's some serious realness behind it. What got you into social media? What did you feel like, it's in my hand and I'm going to use this to create a wave? I want to know what your mindset was and what your thought process was.
I've had, so the Instagram account now wasn't my first account. I've had multiple accounts beforehand, but I've always used them either to try and chase the opposite sex or to try and convince other people that my life's so great. Like the usual stuff. I was fake. I think there's only two types of people in the world. There's real and fake. And fake's become so popular now that real's unrecognizable almost. You know what I mean? So that's what I was guilty of that too. I'll hold my hands up and say, like, I was a fraud. I was pretending that I was living the lifestyle I wasn't, just to try and sleep with girls. I was chasing all the wrong things. I was constantly, I was addicted to scrolling and looking at bikini pictures and things like that. I was that low vibrational guy. I was that insecure guy that needed validation through my little few hundred followers. You know what I mean? When really, I was just being fake in a pool of fake people, and it wasn't really serving me. And anytime I ever got in a relationship, I was always having to hide my phone, and I was, because I didn't want to get her, if I'm taking a picture of my dinner, I'd have to move it so he couldn't get her hand in it because it might fuck up like plan B. And I was that guy. I was very dishonest, and I used it in all the wrong ways, all the ways that people always say like, because social media's got a bad name in a lot of people's mouths, but that's only because it's being used in the wrong way. It's like a steak knife. You can cut up a beautiful ribeye, or you can stab somebody with it. Do you know what I mean? It's two total different.
Well said, yeah. Absolutely.
It depends whose hands the tool is in. Do you know what I mean? So I just flipped it on it. I just flipped it and was just like, before I even thought about doing motivational speaking, it's always been something that's been close to my heart because it saved me from those dark moments. What we were talking about, I've had a moment where I didn't want to get out of bed. And I didn't shower for days, and I was done with it. I was done with the self-harming. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was wrapped up in clothes, and I've always been going to the gym since I went to prison when I was in school. Yeah. Like, I've always been never been fully disciplined and dedicated like I am now, but I've always loved it. I've always thought the idea.
You're in good shape. Good
everybody I've looked up to, whether it's been on the streets, whether it's been in a life of crime, whether it's been whatever, they've always been the big, strong, tough-looking guy.
Yeah, of
Do you
course.
know what I mean? So the idea of me having skinny arms, I just couldn't fathom it. So I'm in the gym every day going,
I wear my jacket.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm in the gym every day, just trying to create this individual, even though I didn't understand what I was trying to create, like I do now. But yeah, I was, anyway, to go back to what I was saying. So I was in bed, and I've never even heard of motivational speaking. Never heard of it. Never even heard of the concept of somebody saying something to you that's going to penetrate you and your spirit and your soul to get your ass up and get you to do something. And I found a video on YouTube, and I'd never searched any of it, so it wasn't any like algorithm suggestions. And it was a workout video of all things, what I needed. And it was a motivational speaker, and he's just basically saying, like, how bad do you want it? Like, some of you, like, you don't want what you say you want more than you want a party or more than you want to do this and that. And I was just like, felt like it was talking to me. And I got up, and I got up, man, and I was just like, let's go. I've got to do it. And I went to the gym, wrapped up because I was covered in my scabs and my scars, and I went in with an hood on, and I did a good workout considering the mental frame that I was in. And then I was walking back, and I was amazed by the content, how it had made me feel. And I thought, wow. And then for years, I just consumed it. I was the guy, like, you would see me driving around in my car, you'd think I'm listening to rap music. I'm not. I'm listening to like inspirational talks and things like that, and I'm just getting fired up, and I'm like, and I'm looking at the ceiling, which was my life, and I'm thinking, how am I so, like, I just knew there was something more inside me, but it took to get the motivation to ignite that flame inside, to actually think, like, no, there's more to you than what meets the eye. I always knew I was different to everybody else. That's probably why I was chasing the validation. I always knew I had a bit more going on between the years, but I suppressed it so much with all those other things, with all the wrong things, that it ended up backfiring and just ended up near enough fizzled out, to be honest. But then when I got onto, like, motivational content and things of that nature, it started to bring me back to life. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't all uphill. As soon as I heard a motivational speaker, I was like, done, out of bed, like,
of course,
like fucking Superman. And I had a tool, and I had something that it was a new concept and a new door and a new gateway that had opened up to me. And I was like, no, when I'm feeling down, I can use this. I can lean on this instead of leaning on other things that have never served me character, and that have only ever dragged me down or been at a detriment or cost me money or my health or got me in fights or whatever. I thought, I'll use this content. And then I started to realize the power of YouTube, and I was like, this is free. This is actually free. I don't have to do anything apart from give it 10 minutes of my time, and then I'm in a completely different mindset. And I thought, wow,
amazing.
And I've always thought, like, everybody gets to a certain stage in their life where you have to assess some of the things that you're good at, whether it's your character traits and things of that nature. And I just thought, like, everybody comes to me with their problems. And I thought, I feel like a fucking agony aunt for the council estate. I thought like the most council agony aunt you've ever seen in your life, aren't I? Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, right, and I just thought, if I could speak, and I started to, you know about manifesting and things like that. You start envisioning things for yourself, but obviously these are pictures that have been painted by God or by people like to call it the universe or whatever floats your boat. But the reason why you can see these things in your mind is because they are obtainable for you. And I always thought, imagine I could stand up on stage, and imagine I could make certain people feel that way. And bearing in mind, I've not got to the stage yet. Like, I'm doing my first actual live talk next month. But like, that's the beauty of this social media tool that we've been given, because you can pull up your phone Like, I've had people message me from Australia saying, I've just seen one of your videos and it's changed my dynamic. It's changed the way I think. It's changed the way I feel. Thank you so much, and been so appreciative. And I thought, it's free. All that on one app. If I can do that, like you were saying, you notice the passion and the conviction in my voice.
Straight away, bro, yeah.
Because I'm talking about things. I'm talking about topics that are dear to my heart. I'm talking to the younger me. I'm talking to the person that was cutting himself to ribbons. I'm talking about the alcoholic kid who didn't have a present father and things of that nature. I was talking to that broken guy, that guy that I needed. And I think that's our purpose as men. I think we've got to create somebody who we needed when we were younger, so then the younger generation that are behind us can look up and be like, "Sound, that's what I needed to hear." Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why a lot of people don't accept the way I speak and things. I get some conflict and things like that because I learned over the years, like, people won't accept the gift that you are as a person because of the packaging that you come in. Like, so if you come in a rough rapper, they don't want to know what's on the inside.
Absolutely.
They're judging a book by its cover, and I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. You
course.
take a look at somebody and you're like, oh, you instantly make your mind up. That's just human nature. But then you've got to be able to have
see beyond it.
You've got to have an open heart, haven't you, to be like, you know what, I'll give this person a chance. And if you get bit on the ass or what, you're just one step closer to a good person. Every single bad person that does bite you on the ass. But like for people that resist like motivational content based on the speaker, that's their emotionality inside playing a detriment to them. They need to unpack their own insecurities and realize, why am I being so conflicted by this guy who's just speaking out just because he's got a shaved head and he's full of tattoos and and he says fuck every other sentence. Do you know what I mean? But like, what's like, you've got to be able to take the message. Like, I'm not gonna be for everybody, and the second I made peace with the fact that I'm not gonna be for everybody, I just felt an absolute relief. I felt like
can't please everyone, can we, bro?
You can't please everybody, and you will only do yourself damage trying. I did it for years. I'm living proof. I'm telling you, you will burn out if you try and please everybody, because it's impossible. And I just think if you're gonna waste your time doing that, man, there's so much more you could be putting energy into. Do you know what I mean? And if you can pull up an app and you can create a little video and you can help somebody else who's in need, who might not have nobody to speak to, then why the fuck not? Why not, innit, bro?
Absolutely, bro. I'm fully down with that, bro. And you know what? While you were talking again, I want to ask you about obviously growing up without a father. Well, you had a father, but he wasn't present.
He wasn't present. Yeah, he was. But you know what I used to do? Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's all right, bro.
I was playing the blame game for years, and this is what I want to stress as well while I'm on the podcast, is the victim mentality, the blaming other people. That mentality will not serve you. I blamed my dad for years and years, and it wasn't until I started to develop myself and isolated myself from the people who weren't good for me and actually unpacked what it takes to be a man, what it takes to build character, and what it takes to be a strong, stoic human being. Do you know what I mean? Then I realized I'm holding something against this man that he'd never seen. So you have to look above at their generation, and I'm looking at his father died when he was a toddler at work, and then the guy that stepped into those shoes was an abusive alcoholic. So if I'm expecting him to look with less resources than what I had, no social media, no internet, look up on the surroundings that he had when he was younger, which was like mine but a lot worse, and the only thing closest to him was an abusive alcoholic. How the fuck am I going to expect him to dissect that, digest that, while working a 9 to 5, while not having any vision or any inspiration, and then somehow manage to unpack that and then get a blueprint together for the son on how to be a man? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and that was unfair of me to do so. And so the resentment that I once had for my parents or my father or whatever, it's long gone, because now I understand, like, you can only grow to what you're exposed to. So if he wasn't exposed to what being a man is all about, how can I hold it against him for not imprinting that on my heart? Do you know what I mean?
That's deep. I've never actually thought of that myself, you know. I've never actually thought about the fact that we never actually think about what our parents went through or what their upbringing was like, and automatically that has an effect on their way of upbringing kids. So well said, man. Well said, bro. That's another.
Appreciate that.
It's just, you're full of it, to be honest, bro. So many gems in this. And I was asking you about having a father figure and stuff. And I'm sure one day you'll start your own family. Unless you probably already have.
No, I haven't. I haven't started a family.
Oh,
I haven't. And do you know what? Like, I'm not even. I used to stress it. I used to think because I'm in my mid-30s now, and I think you like society puts pressure on us. By a certain age, you should be doing this. By a certain age, you should have all your shit figured out. And when you don't get that point, and when you're closing in on that number, especially as a man, you're starting to measure yourself to other people, and you're thinking, "Oh, am I a failure or whatever?" But everybody's story's written, everybody's story's different. Do you know what I mean? And if God wants me to just be a martyr and not be a family man and just be a leader for the younger generation and speak truths and speak passion till the day my life story ends, then so be it. I'm ready for it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not hanging my hopes of happiness and validation on a family that I've not even got yet. Do you know what I mean? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Bro, it's a great mindset. Because myself, bro, got married a little bit later, had kids a little bit later, and you're right, the society will always judge, number one, and number two, you'll have to go with what's been set in no order necessarily, but they'll have to automatically think at this age you should have a job, at this age you should make money, at this age you're meant to have your own house. So respect to that, bro. Respect to that.
Thank you.
I'm sure one day, if you do become a father, I'm sure your knowledge and your know-how and the experiences you can put through, I'm sure they'll be very
probably
positive.
Get sick of my voice, won't they?
Just keep smiling at him.
Yeah.
See your teeth. But I want to speak about mental health because I know mental health means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Not only from what we've just been talking about, with what you've been through, without touching up on that now. I want to know what your view is on the fact that suicide rate in men is so high, and I think there's a stigma attached to that where men are not meant to cry, men are not meant to be upset. Or they're, Superman. Like, Superman's a woman, right? I know Superwoman came out after, but everyone somehow thinks men are made of steel, bro. And the truth is, I always think that men are actually very emotional, just like women are. And I feel that's what drives us to, like the fact that you said, it drove you potty to a point where you just thought, fuck it, I'm calling it in and I'm going to quit. But a lot of people don't have the courage you have and probably the self-love that you did probably have a little bit stopped you from doing it in the end.
Yeah.
What makes you think that is the situation with men, and why is this stigma attached to men that we shouldn't cry?
Because with all this mental health awareness now, all they're doing is pointing out what's wrong and they're not giving us a solution.
Yep.
So raising awareness is like giving someone a diagnosis, but then with no treatment to follow it. So if you're going to be pointing the finger at everybody saying, you've got this wrong with you, this is why you're like this. Oh, by the way, 80% of people who are in your shoes are gonna top themselves. But you're not giving them any actionable steps or any roadmap to get out of it. You're just sitting from an ivory tower and looking down and saying, you're fucked. But there's no help there for you. No wonder people are giving up because there's no steps in place to help them.
True.
There's nobody speaking and you can talk about problems all day long, and they always say a problem shared, there's a problem halved. It might be, but at the end of the day, when you go home at night time and you turn the light off and it's just you in bed on your own, that problem's going to be on your chest and on your heart. And unless you're getting up the next day with an actionable step or some routine or some sort of structure in your chaotic life. Do you know what I mean? Then you are going to suffer. Of course you are going to suffer. So I think the reason why I don't think that awareness is a problem because everybody's a mental health ambassador nowadays. Everybody wants to talk about on most podcasts you do see people say, "Oh, men are supposed to be strong, not supposed to cry, X, Y, and Z." But then I'm sat and I'm watching them and but after that, where are the steps? Where's the help that you're offering? It's okay saying, "Oh yeah, all of those are."
Where's the solution? Yeah.
Where's the solution? Without the solution, there's no point highlighting the problem because all you're doing is emphasizing it and putting a big fucking line underneath it, and then pointing out to everybody all their flaws. When really you should be pointing out solutions, pointing at people who have actually turned it all the way around and ask them how they've done it, and not only ask them how they've done it. If you can digest it and unpack it to yourself. Teach other people to do the same. It's free, like I said, with social media. It costs nothing to help somebody. Do you know what I mean? I encourage all my friends. My friends know, they can speak to me no matter what. They know they can get a phone. If they can phone me in the middle of the night and if they need the world put into rights, they phone me. Do you know what I mean? And you need to be, I think as men, we need more leaders because men are soft because we're not, we're soft, but we're soft behind closed doors. We're soft behind closed doors. We're not soft out on Front Street for everybody to see. We're soft behind closed doors. So if this is what I don't like about social media as well, because it posts and regurgitates bullshit quotes that make you think because nobody checked on you today that nobody cares. When really, anytime when I've not been reaching out and checking out, it's because I've been dealing with the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I've needed somebody to step in and say, "What's happening, P? You all right, mate? I've not heard from you in a couple of days. Whatever." Do you know what I mean? Like, my close mates know if I fall off, if I don't post for a day or two, like, what's going on? You've not posted for like 2 days. Do you know? You've got to be, if you're a man, and if you're a strong man, and if you've been through the wars and you've managed to rebuild yourself, you've got to be the leader of your pack. Don't let these stupid quotes that you see on social media let you think that because no one checks on you, no one gives a fuck, because they do. They're just waiting for you to step in. One of your boys could be suffering, and you're purposely being stubborn because you've seen a quote that sounded half decent, and now your friend's suffering in silence, when really some of us are just meant to be leaders and be strong and step in and put their arm around our friends. You know what I mean? That's one thing that men are missing, because society and social media and stuff like that are making us think because no one's checking on us and no one's asking us, are we okay?
So true.
Like, I am too busy helping other people to then, when somebody asks me who checks on you or whatever, it throws me off, because I'm like, I didn't even think about me, because I'm too busy helping other people, because that's my mission, that's my gift. Like, and for anybody watching who doesn't, and you're trying to unpack and figure out what your gift is, if you can still make all of your friends feel supported and secure no matter what you're going through, if your life could be crumbling to shit, but people are still coming to you for your warm heart and to feed off your strength, that's your gift. That's your gift. Do you know what I mean? If you could be going through the most amount of shit right now, but to look at you, you look absolutely fine. That's a gift in itself. Do you know what I mean? So the things we've meant, if that's your gift, you've got to exercise it. Don't be stubborn. Don't let social media think because no one's checked on you that no one cares. Reach out to your boys all the time. Make fun of them if you have to. Do what you've got to do. Just make sure that they know that fucking line of communication is constantly open, because I'm telling you now, like, when a man's isolated and he's not communicating, it's like...
More often than not, there's a reason.
More often than not, there's a reason, yeah. He's either fully focused on his goal and his mission, but if you know that guy's not really that driven, chances are life's kicking the shit out of him, and he needs you as a leader, as the strong one of the group, as the one who's been through the most, to step up and be that guy for your friends. I think a lot of men would... I think that's that statistic we were talking about earlier about men taking their own life would significantly reduce if the leaders were just leaders. Just be fucking leaders for your circle, man.
Bro, well said, man. Well put. You know, everything you said is absolutely spot on, bro. I agree with everything, man. I think, like, we as men, I feel, again, with social media, the powers, it's such a powerful tool, isn't it, bro? Where I feel like everything is dictated by social media. You know, off camera, we were talking about the generation change. And in this generation, I feel like it's so much more worse, bro. What is right and what is wrong now? You know, what we believe in, you know, even the fact that you brought up, so many people speak about mental health. But I feel like a lot of them, not that I'm being rude or I'm pointing fingers at anyone, that's not my style, but I feel like because it's a thing where they can add some music to it, make it sound like it's sad and everyone's hanging on to it.
Yeah, it's for views, man.
That's
clout, as we were saying before. It's for clout, innit? And because it is a trending topic, despite the stigma, like, it is a trending topic, and if you can pretend to be compassionate and you can actually act like you care by saying so many people have died last year through suicide, but what are you doing about it apart from pointing out the numbers? What are you actually doing about it? You're getting clicks for your page, you're getting likes on your reel. Is that what else are you getting? Where's the systems? What's it saying in your bio? Have you got a group? Have you got fucking courses for people? Have you got a relatable story? Are you going to stand out here and put yourself out on Front Street and be vulnerable for the generation coming up? What is everybody doing? Nobody's doing anything actionable to solve the issue. That's why it's still rife.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, let's just pluck something out of the air. Knife crime. If there was a clampdown on it, a real clampdown, there'd be none of it. Do you know what I mean? But because nobody's doing anything, that's why kids are carrying butcher's knives to school. But so if a problem, it needs solving, but with action. There's no other way. Talking about a problem, raising all this awareness, is not going to solve it. But the actionable steps and creating systems and support groups and networks and things like that will solve it faster than you can imagine. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying a few people won't slip through the net, because that's life. When it's your time, it's your time. But there's a lot of fucking... There'll be a lot of strength and a lot of solidarity if men come together and start actually being leaders and creating these systems and these groups and things of that nature.
So why do you, from your opinion, why do you think that there isn't much help out there? I know people can create classes and counselling and stuff like that. And like you said, it was such a good point again about knife crime, for an example. They want to really stop knife crime, they'll do that. They can easily stop knife crime if they really wanted to. You know, anyone that's found with a knife, if you give him life imprisonment, who's going to carry a knife?
It might even tie to something deeper, and I don't really like to go into like who benefits from what, who benefits from people's misery, whether it's like the government or the NHS or whatever. Whether it's everyone talks about, you hear a lot of controversial like content about this big pharma and who benefits from the sick type thing. So there's people in hospital every week with stab wounds, and people are benefiting from the sale of bandages. Do you know what I mean? You could even go down an absolute rabbit hole and be a fucking propaganda specialist. Do you know what I mean? And do that. But I've been on the receiving end of knife crime. Like I got stabbed 3 times in one sitting, and it was clear, on evident, on CCTV, and they walked out of court with a slap on the wrist. Like the system is so broken when it comes to combating things like that. But then you can write the wrong thing on the internet, and then you get in 6 months in a Cat A prison for mean tweets or hateful speech and things of that nature. The judicial system's upside down. So
absolutely, bro.
But to be fair, like, for me, mine just went blank.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We're talking about the judicial. You know, I feel like the system in general in this country. I feel like, you know, again, like we're talking off camera as well. I feel like everything's just upside down, bro. Everything's backwards. You know, there's so many things that, you know, come out in the media, and you're like, is this true? Is this actually true? Like what they're teaching in schools, without going into the political side of things. We all know, and we all share the same fact that what they're teaching our kids in school isn't what we want to get. You know, we should teach kids how to do a business. What is tax? How do you save tax? You know, saving money. How do you open a bank account? How do you open the company's house registration? These things are what should be taught in schools, not what they're teaching us. And we come out of school thinking we're educated, but are we really educated?
You're disciplined. You're not educated. You taught how to
get to school on time,
how to conform, how to behave, how to turn up on time. I've said it to like me mate's sons and that who have been struggling in school, and I'm like, you've literally got 168 hours in a week. You have to dedicate 40 to a couple of people that you don't really like. You're going to get fed while you're there. You're going to get to play with your friends. Just firm it. Just go through it. Just take whatever lessons you can. You're going to learn more social skills and things outside the classroom that are going to pay you back in later life. And you're going to remember and have things to reflect on that money can't buy. School experience, that all it's an experience. So put the education to a side. You get an education of life in school, and I think that's more valuable than any GCSE. Do you know what I mean? Like you might not get into university with life experience, but you'll be able to be a mentor and be a leader and go out into this ever growing social media world and actually really make a difference. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think to say if you're gonna cross the T's and dot the I's and follow the yellow brick road, then you're probably going to end up with a 9 to 5 and doing whatever. But there's so much opportunity out there and a bigger, broader picture that's got a lot of light on it at the moment. I wouldn't feel a type of way about sending my kids to public school, because I think you have to go through that.
Absolutely.
You have to go through that, like, and I'm not knocking anybody who wants to homeschool their kids, because I'm not in any position to tell anybody what to do.
No, 100%. What I meant was, I just feel like the way the curriculum is, the things that they're teaching. I'm not saying the experience is absolutely fundamental. You need that experience of, again, waking up, going to school, being on time, meeting friends, meeting different people from different backgrounds. All this stuff really helps. And I'll be lying if I said I don't think of my school days, pretty long time ago now.
Remember them, man.
I even remember the names of my class friends, and I think that part of the stuff is great. But as I grew older, I felt personally that what they taught us in school wasn't, I wouldn't say it's really useful as you grow up. It's just my opinion. Anyone who shares...
as a father, and the position that you're in today, you haven't got to worry about what your kids are going to do when they leave school, because they've got you. And this is what this ties back to being a leader and being a positive male role model for your children, because it is crucial to unpack all the bullshit that they learn in school and say, look, there's more opportunity out there than what you've been led to believe. Here it is. Daddy's got you. I'll back you financially. You can do X, Y, and Z. Look at these people. Pull up your phone. Show loads of examples, because you've already done it. And this is what I mean about being a leader and being a strong man. It spills down, trickles down to your family, to your kids. Do you know what I mean? And that's how we break generational curses and things like that.
You know what, bro? I fully agree with you. But I want to just be devil's advocate and say, for an example, a lot of people, including myself, I love my friends. Love them completely. And I feel like sometimes, I think a lot of fathers might agree with me, you can teach them whatever you want. But the time they're spending in school around other people and around maybe the wrong influence, because a lot of people do actually, like you said, you got involved in drugs when you were 12. Yeah. Now, the chances are you were with your friends maybe, and they were the ones you all done it together as a little joke or thought, let's try this, it's going to be fun, But I feel like the outside influence is a lot more stronger than a father's influence. And even as a father who does give a lot of time to my little young kids at the moment, but I feel like the outside world is so scary right now.
It's scary. It's 100% scary, and I do 100% get where you're coming from. But there's always a saying like, kids don't do what they're told; they do what they see. So your kid's gonna see you creating a podcast, going big on social media, and they might rebel when they get to like later teens and things of that nature. But when they actually when life knocks them down, they're gonna come back home, and when they come back home, what are they gonna see? Whereas when I was younger, the reason why I was into drugs and that when I was a kid, and the reason why I was smoking when I was 12 is because I did not have any validation at home. I was seeking validation when you will be validating your children yourself. Yeah, they might not listen when you tell them to do this and that and the other, and they'll learn their lessons their hard way. But you shouldn't want it any other way, because that's how you develop through
of course,
when you tell a kid not to touch the hot stove, it's not until he burns his fingers that he never does it again. Do you know what I mean?
Funny, that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So those are the things, but as long as you're there and you're watching from a distance while setting a good example, because there's going to be a time when life knocks your son down or your daughter down, and they're looking around and they're going to look up to somebody, and you want it to be you. You don't want them to look up and there's going to be nobody there. Do you know what I mean? Look up to who? The 18-year-old roadman. Like, you don't want that. You want them to look at my dad's well more successful. Do you know what I mean? Than those. Like, kids look up to success. Kids are so transparent and so truthful. Like, if a kid sees a nice car, it's like, wow. Yeah. There's none of this hate, like, when we get to our ages and that. Anyway. And they go, yeah. Have you seen the thingy model of it, though? Like, do you know what I mean? Just a little bit of salt. Like, you don't get that with kids. It's transparent. So if you can pave a way of success and the way you treat people and things like that, you'll be surprised that they always say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I reckon, like, for the example that you're setting, just to use you as an example, I think that is key, to set an example. If you're just going to drop your kid off at school and then you're just going to be a lazy piece of shit and you're not going to look after you, and you're not going to look after yourself, and you're not going to try and get some money in the bank or make your mark on the world and make a positive difference, like, then you can expect the shit end of the stick. But that's your job. That's your job as a parent, to be that leader, to be that individual, to let your kids look up and go, because kids argue on the playground and stuff. My dad will batter your dad, all that type of stuff. My dad's got more money than your dad. My dad's car's faster than yours. Do you know what I mean? And if I was a father, I'd want to be the top of them conversations. I'd be like, are you mad? My dad's PeterG. Have you seen the size of him? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of convo that I was like.
Fuck you, the fuck.
Yeah, that's my dad will knock your dad out. Like, they're the kind of conversations. They're like, let's be right, as men, you want to be at the top, don't you? It's only when it comes to people not being able to unpack their own emotions, or they end up neglecting the kids. Whereas really, if they did the work on themselves and got themselves into a strong position, they'd be able to have a more of an impact, a positive impact on their kids than what they actually give themselves credit for.
So true. So true. I think even with kids, but I think the way you said was spot on. I think if they've got a father they can look up to and say that he's my role model, he is everything to me, I think every father should be out there. I'm sure they're listening, thinking, probably work harder if they're not doing it at the best of their ability. Because I feel like a lot of parents nowadays, it's funny, I had a podcast last week, it's not out at the minute, and we're talking about fathers and the role fathers play in your life. And it's funny because we spoke about it in such depth, but it was a female, and the way she was speaking to me was from a perspective of mother, and I was speaking from a perspective of father. And it was so weird how the minds were thinking the same thing, but they were coming out in a complete different way. And that's exactly what we're having now. You're telling me about being a strong father, but my fear is I can be as strong as I want. I just feel like the society out there is so powerful, meaning stuff like music. The kids that, when we were growing up, the music was such soft music, bro, Britney Spears and shit. Now you're looking at the context and the vocals and what they're actually talking about. is unbelievable, bro.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I grew up when Eminem started coming out, and that was the time to be alive. I'm telling you, when his albums were getting banned, and he was talking about putting his wife up and putting her in the boot and all that. Like, I grew up around that, but I know what you mean, because it's this like drill culture and things like that, and I'm not knocking it if that's your bag.
No, of course.
And you want to make your money sound, but it's the kids. It's the knock-on effect it's having to the kids, because they're talking about a life they're not really living, painting this picture just for entertainment purposes, and kids are running. So you get a frequency whatever music you listen to. So if you're feeling a bit lovey-dovey, you put a bit of R&B on. If you want to go raving, you put a bit of upbeat music on. But when you're driving around, if you're stressed out and you've got a bit of rap music on, it just adds fuel to the fire. So if these kids are frustrated because there is no male role model at home, and they're listening to fucking Chef this and do this and down their ears on their AirPods on the way to school.
Exactly.
It's a matter of time before they start adopting that attitude, because all they're hearing is raw aggression down their ears all the time. So there is, but this is where the balance will come in. Like, I hate that word balance as well, by the way. But like, this is where, let's just call it the other side of the coin will come in. There will be so much love and so much positivity at home. It will be harder for this. Don't get me wrong, your back's against the wall as a father, your back's against the wall as a man as it is, but then it's your job to fight that fight for your kids. Let your kids be the motivation. You think society is going to program my kid over my dead body type attitude. That's the kind of attitude. You're going to be like, watch how many episodes I put out then this year. Like, that sort of input, I feel that sort of fire. When people like to blame the kids for the reasons why I've got the kids, like the reason why they can't do certain things. That you're mad. You've been given purpose. If you couldn't find your purpose, there's some now for you. Do you know what I mean? Put out more than you ever have, train harder than you ever have, be as positive as you ever have, because there's a younger generation there that's relying on you. Do you know what I mean? In your children, your bloodline. Do you know what I mean?
Powerful, bro. You know what? I know what you mean, but I just think maybe, I don't know, all the fathers.
That's just the worries of a father, because you care, man. That's absolutely normal, man.
I do think it's normal, especially sitting with my wife and my family and brothers and sisters. We'll have this conversation regularly, bro. And I just feel like the power of society nowadays is a bit very similar to what we were talking about, this whole social media stuff, bro. Like you're saying about cars and jewelry, and that's what success is to people now. It isn't necessarily being a good person or being a helpful person. Like, you're now dedicating your time, your effort. You've traveled all this time down just to leave a lovely, positive digital footprint. You ain't done this for no reason, bro. You spent money on coming down, going for a nice haircut, making yourself look good, smelling great. All this stuff costs money, bro. And you're doing it what for? You're doing it for people to watch this and hopefully get some sort of inspiration from it. But I feel like with a lot of the youth today, a lot of the stuff is really, really scary, bro. And I think as a parent, sometimes it, comes out of me very rarely. But when we're having a conversation like this, I think so many things come into your brain, and just hope that, success would be what we believe success is, and what our, I want to say our generation, but, I thought growing up before the social media time was a lot more, let's say, not as testing as it is today.
It's not as testing because there's no societal pressures. There's no, like you say, there's no bling bling. There's no chains, cars and everything. As soon as you pull up your phone, you can automatically see someone within a couple of presses of a screen that is living a life that is like your dream life. And then you start bridging the gap. And then in between that gap, mate, is where the depression is, and when the comparison is, and when you start losing all your own sense of self-worth and start discrediting your own journey because you're comparing yourself to somebody whose life probably isn't even all that.
It's not.
They're just putting, like, Instagram and social media is just a highlight zone. Nobody's showing you the fucking sleepless nights. Nobody's showing you the train journeys down here. No one's showing you the sweat and the tears and the stress and the negative comments and the DMs and the bullshit that comes with it. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's just like that. Glory, 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 glory. Do you know what I mean? It's a results zone. Instagram and social media is a results zone. That's why people will see people like me or people like you, and they see this. So they see this, they call it the finished product. So we look like an end product. Well, this is just a product of years and years and years of graft, years of failure, years of people slating us, years of like friendships and relationships breaking down, years of stress, years of like constant battles with all of life's problems and all the shit coming at us from another angle too. Like, people don't appreciate where you've come and how far you've gone because they think you got to your destination on an half-price ticket, when we have absolutely paid our dues just to get to where I am now. And I'm at the first stop. I'm not even scratching the surface yet. As yourself, like, you've got big dreams and big goals to go with. Do you know what I mean? But I think with this social media thing, back to what you were saying with the kids, it can be used as a tool, but you can always now, especially when we've connected, if you see one of your kids going off the wrong rails or going down the wrong path, you can say, look, I know somebody who was like that. Look what he does.
Yeah, of course.
Look what he's talking about. There's so much education.
FaceTime you.
There's so much, there's so much education out. You scared of kids to death. There's so much education out there, though. Do you know what I mean? And be like, as much as, they could be susceptible to a bit of drill music and a bit of like negative programming, but then you've got so much good to show them too. Do you know what I mean?
Course
and then it's up to them to grow up and mature and decipher between the two which road they want to go down. Do you know what I mean? But because you've set an example, was if you go down this path, you'll be fine type thing. They'll trust in the Father and they'll hopefully follow your footsteps.
Bro,
yeah, of course.
But you know what? I want to speak before we wrap up. Believe it or not, it's coming to I don't know where the time's gone. Wow. Honestly, I want to ask you before we wrap up about trolls and stuff like. You're trying to be you're not trying to be. You are a positive person online. It's a bit similar to us as well. We're trying to create positivity on our podcast from episode 1 until this is probably episode 75 now. And we've always tried to create a zone where people can come and speak openly. We're not judgmental. We take the nice approach. We're not, we speak about mental health and these things from episode 1 until now.
Cool.
Just to make sure that it's something that we morally are doing what we set out to do.
Okay.
Right? So I want to ask you about the trolls and people that will probably watch your stuff, send you a really dirty or a very uncalled for message. I want to know sometimes, do you have them days where you sit there and you question everything? That why am I even doing this? Why am I spending all this fucking time on this if this is the shit I'm going to get? Because I've been in situations, bro, where I've received some messages that have actually shaken me, bro. And I've actually literally sat there, bro, for a good half an hour, I'd say. And just thinking, bro, like, what the fuck was that about? It's so powerfully written. You can tell they've put so much effort in that level of hate. Do you get that? And do you go through the same thing?
Yeah, so I think as human beings, you can say, oh, don't let the hate get to you. But we're human at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? For every 100 comments that are all positive, you do get the odd person that pops up and has always got something to say, but you've just got to always remember that that's just a reflection of their internal state. So if they're getting so frustrated, whereas they can't scroll past my video without leaving a negative comment, trying to deter from the fact that they're the ones that are suffering really inside, they're trying to project their insecurities on me, then that's all I have to remember. I just remember that that's their problem. And sometimes I kill them with kindness. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, whatever it is that's made you stop and comment on this video and try and throw shade on a complete strangers who's trying to help people in a positive way and change lives, I hope you heal from it soon, God bless. And then you get people, I had someone message me like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I can't believe you wrote that to me, or whatever. But then you get somebody, right, that old chestnut. And then I'm like, well, if it is an old chestnut is something that's repeated regularly. So if you're hearing this message regularly, take it on board, mate, and start developing yourself. Don't be hiding behind your cat pictures and your stupid little grey picky and you use are we good?
Yeah.
Because you was like this, then looking at something.
I always, because when you're doing podcasts, you're constantly making sure everything's still recorded, everything's still. But yeah, bro, I agree with that. I do definitely agree with that. I feel if you kill negativity with positivity.
But it will always affect you, like you'll never get to a stage where the hate won't be coming at you, especially when you're trying to, like you were saying before about a digital footprint, when you're trying to leave a positive digital footprint and you're trying to better the lives of other people and you're putting yourself out there, you got to expect some sort of backlash.
Yeah, true.
Haters are trophies that only winners get to collect. So you can't be moaning when you get a bit of stick online because you're not cut out to be in this space, because this is what comes with a job title. You know what I mean? You're supposed to get stick because those people are watching you do something that they can't fathom and they cannot dream for themselves. In their wildest dreams, they couldn't dream standing up and saying what's really going on in their heart and actually putting themselves out to be vulnerable and hoping to change someone's life for positive, because it's easier to hide behind user 1567 blah blah blah
exactly
and write some shitty little comment, because then that's deterring from the work that they've got to do. But that's their problem. So like there was a TV presenter, was it Caroline Flack?
Yep.
And she was subject to a lot of hate, and she let it affect her so much so that she took her own life. Deep. So and that is just so deep. That is one story that's just always stuck with me over the years, because I think no matter what people say to me,
you get driven, don't you?
Whatever they say to me, I'm like, I've heard it 10 times over. You cannot say anything in a comment section that I haven't heard already, from when I was growing up, from when I was having an abusive childhood, from when I was getting bullied at school, from when I was trying to fit in and always falling short, and I was embarrassing myself just to try and fit in, like, and the internal war I had with myself like 10 years ago when I wanted to off myself, like, you could never get me like that, like I've got myself. So you can write your little comments and you can say, oh yeah, you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm still going to keep doing it. In fact, I'm going to do it more. You don't like what I'm saying? Well, here's 3 more videos for you tomorrow. You're going to have to choke on them, because I'm not going anywhere, because I know this is my gift. This is my gift as a person. This is my God-given ability to... Somebody that looks like me doesn't speak online about the things that I speak about, won't shout about vulnerability and self-harming and things like that, won't let other men feel safe to the things that they're going through in their mind. I've had people stop me, like, and to look at them, when they're stopping me, my old mentality is kicking in. I'm thinking, oh shit, what have I done here now? When people are saying, are you Peter? And I'm like approaching me, and I'm thinking, oh, please don't. And then I'm thinking, squeezing my little fists together, thinking, for fuck's sake.
Look, yeah.
And then they just, their hand extends and they go, you know what, mate? Like, you speak so much sense. Like, it's like you're in my mind. It's like you're in my day-to-day life. And like, listen, it touches me when people DM me, but it touches me more when people who look like me from the same background as me stop me and say, listen, mate, I appreciate what you're trying to do, because you talk real. And then I look at them and their friendship group and all that, and it's the lads and that, and they ain't got that person. So again, it'll tie back to the social media thing. I am going to use this to try and generate as many positive messages as I can. Amazing. To try and spark as much change as I can in people that look like me from all walks of life. But for me, when I was younger, do you know what I mean? And for all the men out there that are struggling.
Bro, that was absolutely amazingly put, bro. And, you know, it's been a pleasure having you on, bro.
It's really been a pleasure to be here, mate. I've been looking forward to it,
the time's gone. But, bro, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure there were some serious gems in this podcast. So, my brother, thank you. God bless you, man. So, there you have it, guys. If you liked what you saw, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'd put all of Peter's stuff in the caption below so you can holler him. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. Follow this amazing journey that he's on. And let's get behind it. Peace, love, and respect. We're out. Yadroko.